The House of 40 Books, A Sleep Story. Bukhara, Khorasan, 1000 AD. Let your body find the position it most wants to be in. Not the position you put it in, the position it wants. There is a difference, and at this hour it is worth attending to the difference. Let your shoulders settle. Let your jaw unclench. Let your hands open or close or rest however they wish to rest. There. We are going to a city tonight that no longer exists in the form we are going to find it. A city that was, at the turn of the first millennium, one of the most luminous places in the world. A city of markets and mosques and caravanserais full of travelers from every direction. A city where the smell of the morning bread from the bazaar mingled with the smell of the steppe that began at the city's eastern edge and continued without interruption all the way to China. It is winter. The Bukharan winter is not gentle. It comes from the north, from the great flat steppe, carrying whatever the steppe has accumulated in the way of cold and dryness and a particular kind of silence, but belongs to very flat, very large places where there is nothing to interrupt the wind. But inside one house, on a narrow lane in the Scholars' Quarter, the cold has been kept out. A young man is reading. He has been reading since before sunset. He will not stop until the words stop making sense, which, on most nights, is never. Bukhara, at the turn of the millennium, sits at the center of a web. The web is made of roads, the old trade routes that the people who use them call simply the road, as though there were only one road in the world, as though all roads were expressions of a single underlying intention to connect one place to another across whatever distance and difficulty lies between them. The roads come from China in the east, and from the Mediterranean in the west, and from India in the south, and from the Caspian steppe in the north, and they cross at Bukhara and at Samarkand 2 days to the east, and at a handful of other cities in this region that is currently called Khorasan, and that has been called many things before, and will be called many things after. The roads carry silk and spice and horses and glass and paper, the paper that arrived from China only 2 centuries ago, and that has transformed in those 2 centuries the capacity of scholars to accumulate and transmit knowledge, because paper is cheaper than parchment and more durable than papyrus, and can be made in large quantities wherever there are rags and water and people who know the process. The roads also carry ideas. This is what the merchants do not always understand about what they carry. The bales of silk are obvious. The sacks of pepper are obvious. The horses are obvious. But moving alongside these, carried in the heads of the travelers, in the manuscripts tucked into saddlebags, in the letters exchanged between scholars across distances of months, the ideas are moving too. Greek mathematics arriving in Arabic translation, Indian numerical systems spreading westward, Persian administrative methods moving in both directions. The whole body of Greek philosophy recovered, re-examined, commented upon, extended in a tradition of scholarship that is now several centuries old and that has made the libraries of Khorasan some of the most richly stocked in the world. In one house, in the Scholars' Quarter, behind a wooden door whose paint is beginning to peel in the dry Bukharan cold, the son of a government administrator named Abdullah ibn Sina is reading. He is 20 years old. He has already, at 20, read more than most scholars read in a lifetime. He is not finished. His full name is Abu Ali al-Hussein ibn Abd Allah ibn Sina. The world will call him Avicenna, a Latinization that arrives several centuries after his death, and that he would not recognize. In Bukhara, in the year 1000, he is simply Ibn Sina, the son of Sina, the young man who reads everything, the one the older scholars watch with a mixture of admiration and a faint unease that they do not always acknowledge to themselves. He is not physically imposing, medium height, dark-eyed, with the particular quality of attention in those eyes that people notice immediately, and that is difficult to describe, except to say that it gives the impression of a mind that is always doing more than one thing at once, that even in conversation, even in the most ordinary transaction of daily life, something behind the eyes is still running, still processing, still following some thread that the rest of the world cannot see. He began reading seriously at 6. By 10, he had memorized the Quran, which in his community was the standard measure of a certain kind of accomplishment, not unusual for a child of his background, but done with a completeness and a speed that made his teachers pay closer attention. By 14, he had studied and passed beyond what his teachers in Bukhara could offer in logic, natural sciences, and mathematics. By 16, he had taught himself medicine from the texts available in the city's collections and had begun practicing. And this is the remarkable part, the part that his contemporaries found almost impossible to account for. Practicing successfully, treating cases that experienced physicians had given up on. Doing so not from intuition, but from a systematic application of what he had read. By 18, he had encountered Aristotle's metaphysics. This nearly broke him. He read it 40 times. He memorized it. He could recite it forwards and backwards, and he did not understand it. Not the way he understood the things he understood, not with the quality of comprehension that felt like the thing entering him completely, becoming part of the structure of his thinking. He understood the words. He understood the arguments, sentence by sentence. But the whole, the thing the book was actually about, the thing Aristotle was actually pointing at, this remained opaque. He was 18 years old and had never before encountered a text he could not make his own. He does not speak about those months now. He was 20 a month ago. The distance between 18 and 20 is, in most lives, not large. In his, it contains something he does not have words for yet. Something that changed the texture of how he meets a difficult question. He sits in his room with his books. The oil lamp burns. The room is small. This is by choice rather than necessity. His family is not wealthy, but they are not poor, and there are larger rooms in the house. He chose this one, at the back of the building, for reasons he explained to his father, as having to do with light and quiet, both of which are true, and for a reason he did not explain, which is that small rooms concentrate something. They make the walls close enough to feel present, to feel like the room is aware of being inhabited, and this awareness, even if it is a quality he projects rather than perceives, helps him. The walls are plastered white, or were white once. The plaster has yellowed with the smoke of many winters' worth of lamps, and in the corners where the lamplight does not reach it, has taken on the grey of dust and age. The floor is covered with a carpet whose pattern he stopped seeing years ago. It is there, in the way the floor is there, structural, supporting, not requiring attention. The books are everywhere, and this is the true character of the room, the thing that makes it his room rather than any room. They are not shelved, or not only shelved. There is a shelf along one wall, wood, that his father had installed at his request, and it holds perhaps 30 volumes. The rest are stacked on the floor beside the low reading table, on the window ledge, in two corners where they have formed towers that have grown organically over the years, each new book added to wherever there was space, until the towers have a certain geological quality, as though they have been here long enough to have been laid down by some natural process. The books come from many places. Some he bought carefully, with money set aside from what his father gave him for ordinary expenses. Some were lent to him by scholars who had recognized, after initial resistance, that lending to Ibn Sina was different from lending to other young men, that he read what he borrowed rather than holding it as a status object, and that he returned it with a completeness of comprehension that sometimes showed up months later in a comment or a question that revealed he had understood the book better than the person who had lent it. Some he copied himself by hand when he could not borrow or buy. The copying is slow work, but he has never found it tedious. The act of writing each word, of choosing stroke by stroke to form each letter in the sequence that produces each word, creates a different kind of contact with the text than reading does. Reading moves, writing stays. When he has copied a text, it is in his hand as well as his eyes, and this doubly held text sits differently in him than text that only passed through his eyes. Tonight, he is not copying. Tonight, he is reading. He is reading the difficult passage. The difficult passage is in Aristotle. He has been returning to it for 2 years. Since he was 18, since those months of reading the Metaphysics 40 times and not arriving at the center of it, not feeling the thing click into place the way things usually click into place, the way a good mathematical proof clicks, not with drama, not with the sensation of revelation, but with a quiet inevitability, a sense of course, it could not be otherwise. The passage concerns what Aristotle calls the first cause. Ibn Sina will not summarize it here in the way he does not summarize difficult things, even to himself. To summarize a difficult passage is to replace it with a simpler thing, and the simpler thing is not the difficult thing. The difficult thing requires the difficult words, in the difficult order, in the difficult relationship with each other that Aristotle put them in, which is itself part of what is being said. What he can say is what the passage is circling. It is circling the question of what it means for anything to exist at all, not why this particular thing exists rather than some other particular thing, not the contingent reasons for contingent existence. The prior question, the question that precedes all the particular questions about particular things. What does it mean? What is happening at the most fundamental level when a thing is rather than is not? He has been reading Greek philosophy seriously for 4 years. He has read the Platonists and the Stoics and the various schools that followed Aristotle and commented on him and extended him and occasionally contradicted him while claiming to be faithful to him, which is a thing philosophers do and that he has learned to read carefully for, the contradiction hidden in the loyalty. But this passage in Aristotle keeps him returning. 2 years of return, 40 readings, and now, tonight, something is different. He does not know yet what is different. He only knows that he is reading the passage tonight with a quality of attention he has not brought to it before, and that the quality of attention is not something he summoned. It arrived, the way weather arrives. Outside the room, the cold has deepened. The Bukharan winter night has a particular character that he knows well. Having spent every winter of his life in this city, the cold comes in waves, not steadily. There are periods of almost warmth, the temperature hovering at a level where the body can sustain itself without effort, and then the wind shifts slightly and the step cold arrives again with full authority, dropping the temperature several degrees in the space of minutes. He hears this in the sounds the house makes. The wooden beams that support the roof contract in the cold, producing small sounds, not loud, not alarming, just the house adjusting to what the night is asking of it. He has heard these sounds all his life, and they are part of the texture of winter, as familiar as the smell of the charcoal brazier in the corner of his room, whose warmth is modest but sufficient, whose smell is the smell of controlled combustion, of fire doing exactly what is asked of it, and no more. The street outside is silent. Bukhara at this hour has put itself away. The bazaar, which fills the day with the particular noise of commerce, the negotiation and the calling out and the movement of goods from one hand to another. The bazaar is closed, the stalls shuttered, the merchants in their beds or in the caravanserais where travelers sleep in the communal warmth of many bodies and many animals. The mosques are dark or nearly dark between the prayer times. The scholar's quarter, where his family's house stands, is always quieter than the commercial districts, even in the daytime. It has the quality of a place where the people who live in it understand that the business being conducted here requires a lower register of noise than other kinds of business. Not silence, but quiet. The quiet of concentrated work. At this hour, the quarter is as close to silence as the city ever gets. He hears, from somewhere 2 streets away, a dog making its brief announcement to the dark. Then nothing. He reads. He pauses in the middle of the difficult passage, not because he is confused, or not only that. He pauses because a question has arrived that is not in the text but that the text has produced, the way a stone dropped in still water produces rings that are not the stone, but are caused by the stone. The question is, what does it mean to know something? He has been taking this for granted. He has been reading and understanding and memorizing and reading further for 14 years, and in all that time he has rarely stopped to examine the act itself. The act of knowing, the thing that happens when a mind encounters something and takes it in and makes it its own. He is doing it right now. His eyes are on the page, the Arabic characters that carry Aristotle's Greek thinking across 2 languages and several centuries. The marks on the page are entering through his eyes, being processed by something. He does not know what, he does not know where understanding happens, or what understanding is made of, and becoming something he would call comprehension. The marks becoming meaning, the meaning becoming part of the structure of his thinking, or trying to, meeting the structure of his existing thinking, and finding the place, or not finding it. What is happening exactly when that occurs? He can describe the outside of it, the eyes receiving light reflected from marks on paper. The brain, he has been studying medicine, he knows the brain is involved. He knows damage to the brain can destroy the capacity for comprehension without destroying the capacity for sensation, which tells him the brain is doing something specific and separable from what the eyes do. But the inside of the knowing, what it feels like from within, to understand something, this he cannot locate in the body, cannot point to, cannot describe except in terms that are themselves examples of the thing he is trying to describe. He understands what understanding feels like by using his understanding. He knows what knowing is by knowing it. There is something in this that is not a problem, but a structure, something that is simply the shape of a certain kind of question, the kind that cannot be answered from outside itself, that must be known from inside, that yields not to analysis, but to a different kind of attention. He sits with this for a moment. The lamp burns. He returns to Aristotle. He has read, by his own count, somewhere between 300 and 400 books. He is 20 years old. This number is not a boast. He does not think of it as a boast, and would be puzzled by anyone who received it as one. It is simply a fact about the past 14 years of his life. The way the number of steps from his house to the bazaar is a fact, a measure of distance traversed, nothing more. What the number means in terms of what he actually holds, this is harder to say. Some of the books he read once and understands in the way you understand a road you have walked down once in good conditions. You could find your way back. The major features are clear in your memory. You would not lose yourself. Some he has read many times, and these he holds differently. Not just the content, but the texture of the thinking, the way the author's mind moves, the characteristic habits of argument, the places where the author is at their best, and the places where they are merely competent. And some, a small number, a very small number, he has read in the way that changes the structure of what you can subsequently think. Books that are not just added to the existing structure, but that rebuild something foundational that makes subsequent reading different because the mind receiving it is different than it was before. Aristotle's Metaphysics is one of these. Even in the 40 readings that did not yield the comprehension he was seeking, something was happening, something in the structure of the questions being asked, the particular way Aristotle frames what is worth asking, the particular set of things he considers fundamental, was being absorbed, slowly, into the way Ibn Sina now frames his own questions. He did not plan this. He could not have planned it. You cannot decide in advance what a book will do to you. You can decide to read it carefully, to give it the quality of attention that difficult things deserve. But what it does, how it lands, what it rebuilds, what it leaves behind when the reading is over, this is not under your control. This is, he thinks tonight, part of what makes reading the particular kind of experience it is. You enter a book as the person you are. You exit it, if it is a book worth the entering, as someone slightly different. The difference is not always visible from outside, and sometimes not visible from inside either, but it is real. He is reading the difficult passage tonight as someone who has read it 39 times before. He is not the same person who read it the first time. He will not be the same person tomorrow, who he is reading it as tonight. The lamp is a simple thing, a shallow clay dish, not unlike the lamps that have burned in this region for 5,000 years. The design has not changed in any fundamental way, because the design is very nearly perfect for what it is asked to do. Oil in the dish, a wick of twisted cotton or linen, one end submerged in the oil, the other end above the rim, burning. The oil tonight is sesame oil. It has a smell that is almost imperceptible unless you are very close to it, and very still, a faint warmth, a slight sweetness, the smell of something giving itself up to heat. He is very close and very still. And so he notices it, the way he notices things when his attention is in a particular state, not directed at them, not seeking them out, but open, receiving whatever presents itself. He has been thinking recently about light, not as a metaphor. He is suspicious of metaphors that flatter, that make difficult things seem resolved by an image when they are not, but as a question. What is light? He has read the Greek treatments of this, the optical theories that explain how light travels, and how the eye receives it, and how color is produced. He finds these interesting but incomplete. They explain how light behaves. They do not explain what light is. He is aware that this distinction between describing behavior and describing nature is one of the central distinctions in natural philosophy. Aristotle makes it repeatedly. The astronomers can predict the movements of the planets with great accuracy without knowing what the planets are made of or why they move. The physicians can treat illness effectively without knowing what illness fundamentally is. The knowledge of behavior is real knowledge. It is useful knowledge. It saves lives. But it is not the same as the other knowledge. The knowledge of what something is, not how it acts, but what it is in itself, in its nature. This is harder to come by, and he is not sure, on certain nights, that it is fully available. He is not sure that the human mind, excellent as it is at observing and categorizing and reasoning from observations, can actually arrive at the nature of things. The nature might be, in some sense, too close. The way you cannot see your own eyes except in a reflection, and the reflection is not the same as the thing. The lamp gives light. He reads by it. What the light is in itself. He sets this aside for tonight. He has the passage to attend to. Earlier today, before the reading session that is now extended into deep night, he had a conversation with a bookseller in the covered market, a man named Yusuf, who has known him since he was 12, and who has always, with the particular instinct of a good bookseller, set aside for him the things that are worth his attention, rather than the things that are merely interesting. There is a difference, and Yusuf understands the difference, which is why Ibn Sina trusts him. Yusuf had shown him today a small volume, a commentary on Aristotle's Metaphysics by Al-Farabi, a philosopher from the previous century, dead now, whose work Ibn Sina knows but has not fully explored. This particular text he had not seen before. It was not new. It had been written perhaps 70 years ago, but it was not widely circulated, and Yusuf had obtained it through the particular alchemy of the book trade, from a traveler whose provenance he did not specify. He had bought it immediately. He had read the first pages standing in the covered market, oblivious to the commerce happening around him. Yusuf watching with the patient amusement of someone who has seen this before and knows better than to interrupt. Then he had come home. He is reading the Al-Farabi now, alongside the Aristotle, moving between them. Al-Farabi's commentary is not a translation or a summary. It is a thinking with. A scholar working through the text in company with another scholar across the distance of centuries, noting where he agrees and where he finds something the original did not quite say. A place where the original stopped short of where it was going. There is a passage in Al-Farabi's commentary. He finds it on the 5th page, in a hand that is careful and slightly old-fashioned, that makes him set the book down. Al-Farabi writes, "The first cause about which Aristotle speaks does not know the world the way we know the world. We know particular things, one at a time, in sequence, each knowledge following from the previous knowledge in the chain of our experience. The first cause knows all things at once, not in sequence, but in a single act of knowing that contains everything knowable. And because the first cause knows all things at once, the first cause is identical with what it knows. The knowing and the known are not separate in it, as they are in us. He sits with this. The knowing and the known are not separate. He does not know yet what to do with this. but something in him receives it as important, the way the body receives cold or warmth, immediately, without the mediation of decision. His room holds, at this count, 43 books. He thinks of it as 40, the number having a quality of completeness in his imagination that 43 lacks. 40 is the number of years of the prophet's life before revelation. 40 is the number of days of solitude that recurs in the old stories. 40 is a number that means enough of something that the next thing can begin. He knows each of the 40 books the way you know a person you have spent significant time with, not their surface. Their surface is obvious. The title, the author, the general subject. He knows their inner character, the way they argue, their particular blind spots, and their particular moments of illumination, the places they rush past something important, and the places they slow down and stay with something in a way that tells you the author knew they were near something real. There is a medical text in Persian, a practical compendium, not theoretical, a physician's working notes accumulated over a practice of 40 years, that he has read 3 times. He does not think it is a great book. The prose is undistinguished. The organization is idiosyncratic, organized by what seems to be the order in which the physician encountered various conditions, rather than any systematic principle. But it holds something that the more systematic, more elegant texts do not hold: the texture of the actual encounter, the patient, the specific symptom in the specific body, in the specific moment, the uncertainty of diagnosis, the adjustment of treatment when the first treatment does not work. He learned more medicine from that undistinguished book than from texts that were 10 times more elegant. This tells him something about knowledge that he is still working out. That the form knowledge takes is not independent of the content. That a medical knowledge organized by systematic principles is different knowledge from a medical knowledge organized by accumulated encounter, even if they concern the same diseases, the same treatments, the same bodies. Not more or less valuable, different, differently accessible, differently useful in different situations. He thinks about this often in the back of his mind, where the thinking that is not yet complete lives. He has begun tentatively to imagine what a book would look like that held both forms, that had the systematic organization that makes knowledge searchable and teachable and transmissible across distances of time and culture, but that did not lose in the systematizing the texture of the actual encounter. He does not know yet if such a book is possible. He is 20 years old. He has time to find out. The rest of the house is asleep. His father, Abdullah, who works in the Samanid administration and who regards his son with a pride that he expresses through the provision of books rather than words. His mother, Sitara, who wakes sometimes in the night and whose footsteps he occasionally hears passing his door. She checks, he knows, whether his lamp is still burning, whether he is still at the books. She never knocks. She passes and returns to her room. He has a younger brother who sleeps the deep, uncomplicated sleep of someone who has not yet been seized by an obsession, who is not yet old enough to know what obsession feels like, who goes to bed when he is tired and wakes when the morning calls, and passes through the daylight hours in a state of reasonably distributed attention that Ibn Sina watches, sometimes, with something that is not quite envy, but contains some of the same longing, the longing for ease, the longing for a mind that does not always reach for the harder question. He would not trade. He is certain of this, As certain as he is of the things in the medical texts, the reliable certainty of things that have been tested against reality, he would not trade the obsession for the ease. But he can hold both things at once, the absolute commitment to the life he has and the occasional awareness of what the other life might feel like. The house makes its winter sounds. The beams, the faint movement of air through the gap at the bottom of the outer door, the particular sound of cold weather settling into a building that is warm inside, a sound that is not quite a sound, more a quality of the silence, a density. He is warm. The brazier has done its work. The room is not hot. He does not like heat when he is reading, finds that heat makes the mind sluggish, but it is warm enough that his hands, which are holding the Al-Farabi, are comfortable, the fingers supple, moving through the pages easily. He is comfortable in his body in a way he sometimes is not. He has a tendency, he is aware of this, his mother has pointed it out more than once, and she is not wrong, to neglect the body when the mind is occupied, to forget to eat, to hold one position for too long, and discover, when he finally moves, that his legs have gone numb, or his neck has stiffened in a way that will take days to resolve. Tonight, he has been more attentive. He has shifted position several times. He ate a meal at sunset that was adequate. He is here, in this body, in this room, in this winter. The book is in his hands. He returns to the passage. The knowing and the known are not separate. He has been turning this over for 2 hours now, letting it move through his thinking the way a stone moves through water, not resting, not settling, but finding the deeper currents. The places in his thinking that are moving rather than still, in the way he himself knows things, in the ordinary human way, the way all the people he has met and observed and read know things. There is always a separation. He and the thing he knows are distinct. He stands at a distance from what he knows and looks at it, examines it, approaches it from various angles. The knowledge he achieves is real, but it is a knowledge from outside, a description of the thing's behavior and properties and relationships to other things. This is what he has always understood knowledge to be, this description from outside. But Al-Farabi is saying that this kind of knowledge is not the only kind, that the first cause, that whatever it is that underlies and sustains existence that Aristotle was pointing at through the difficult passage, knows differently, knows from inside, knows without distance. He is not certain he believes in the first cause, the way the philosophers mean it. He is not certain he disbelieves in it. He is 20 years old, and he has learned that certainty on questions of this kind is a position that is achieved only by people who have stopped asking. He has not stopped asking. He will not stop asking for a very long time. But the idea of knowing without distance, of a knowing in which the knower and the known are not two things, this he finds that he can approach from a different direction. Not the direction of theology or philosophy of God, the direction of his own experience. There are moments in reading, rare moments, not the ordinary state of reading, but a state that occasionally arrives when the conditions are right, when the distance collapses, when the text is not something he is looking at from outside, but something he is inside, when the thinking in the text and his own thinking are not two things but one thing happening. He has experienced this. It does not last, but it happens. And when it happens, he understands differently than he understands when he is reading normally. He understands from inside. He set the philosophical texts aside for a while. An hour ago, or perhaps two, he does not count the hours when he is reading, has never understood the impulse to count the hours, which seems like counting breaths, a way of measuring something that does not benefit from being measured. An hour or two ago, he had reached a natural pause in the Al-Farabi and had reached instead for the medical text. The medical text is not a difficult text. He has read it many times. What he finds there now is not new information, but familiar thinking, the pleasure of moving through a territory he knows well. The way you might walk through a neighborhood you have lived in for years, not looking for anything, not discovering anything, just being in a known space with the ease of someone for whom the knowing of the space is itself a form of rest. The text is describing the circulation of blood. He knows this material thoroughly. He has observations of his own made in the years of clinical practice that supplement and in some places correct what the texts he read originally told him. He knows, from watching and touching and thinking carefully about what he has watched and touched, things about the body that are not in any text he has read. This is a peculiar situation. He holds knowledge that has no source except himself. All the other knowledge he holds has a provenance. He can trace it back to a text or a teacher or an observation that someone else made and recorded. But this knowledge, the knowledge that has come from his own practice, his own careful watching, this is different. It is his in a way that nothing else is his. He wonders, sometimes, what he will do with it. It cannot stay only in him. That would be a waste of the kind that he finds genuinely troubling, not morally troubling, not a failure of obligation, but troubling in the way that any unnecessary loss is troubling. A good carpenter's knowledge of wood dying with the carpenter because he never taught anyone and never wrote anything down. A physician's understanding of a particular condition, lost when the physician is lost. He has been writing. Not consistently, not systematically, not yet, but notes, observations, the beginning of the habit that will eventually become something much larger, though he does not know this yet at 20. He writes down what he knows that has no source except him, so that it has a source after him. The city outside has reached its deepest quiet. He knows this quarter, knows its sounds and its silences, has lived here all his life. At this hour, the hour he thinks of as the hour of maximum dark, the point equidistant from the last prayer and the first prayer, from yesterday's sunset and tomorrow's sunrise. At this hour, Bukhara is as close to silence as a city of this size can be. He hears, very faintly, the sound of the wind on the steppe. Not the wind in the city. The wind has found the lanes of the scholars' quarter and moves through them, but the lanes are narrow and the buildings close together, and the wind there is domesticated, reduced. A wind that is aware it is in a city and behaves accordingly. What he hears is the wind before it reaches the city, the wind on the open steppe 2 miles north, where there is nothing to interrupt it, where it has been building speed since it left whatever mountain range or high plain generated it, and where it moves with the full authority of a thing that has not yet met resistance. He has been to the steppe 3 times, short trips, always with company, always with a destination, a village, a caravanserai, a point of transfer from one road to another. But each time, there was a moment when he was on the open steppe and had to stop moving and simply be in it, the flatness, the sky that begins at your feet and rises in every direction without interruption. The wind, the step, makes him feel a particular thing that he has not felt anywhere else. Small, in the precise sense, aware of his own scale. In the city, even in a large city, the built environment is at human scale. The doors are door-sized, the streets are street-sized, the buildings are building-sized, and all of these sizes are calibrated to the human body, the human pace, the human visual range. Everything fits. You move through a city as its intended occupant. On the step, you move through something that did not consider you when it was arranged. He finds this clarifying rather than distressing. The step does not care about him. This is not unkindness. The step is not capable of unkindness, which requires intention, which requires a mind. The step simply is at a scale that includes him only incidentally. He is in it, he is not its point. This is useful to remember, he thinks, at the reading table in the small lamplit room. Useful to remember that the questions he is pursuing, the questions about existence and knowing, and the nature of what underlies all things, these questions are not questions about him. He is the questioner. He is not the subject. The wind moves on the step. He reads. He is reading the difficult passage for the 41st time. He knows this is the 41st time the way he knows many things, not by counting, but by the quality of the familiarity, the sense of a number that has a shape he recognizes. Something is different tonight. He cannot say what. The words are the same. The Arabic in which the Greek was translated is the same. The argument moves through the same stages in the same order. Building in the same direction toward the same conclusion that has always seemed to him to arrive just short of where it was going, like a bridge built from both banks that does not quite meet in the middle. But tonight the gap is smaller, not closed. He is not claiming that it has closed. He has learned from 2 years of sitting with this text to be very careful about claiming closure, because the feeling of closure is not always the same thing as actual closure, and the difference matters, and the difference is only apparent with time. But the gap is smaller. What Aristotle is trying to say, what the passage is pointing at, the thing for which the words are a kind of approximation, the best approximation available in Greek in the 4th century BCE, the common era. He can feel the direction of it tonight in a way he has not felt before. Not the content, not yet, but the direction, the way you can feel in the dark that there is something ahead of you without yet knowing what it is. He does not press. This is something he has learned at some cost, that pressing in these moments is counterproductive. The thing he is approaching requires a particular quality of approach, patient, open, not demanding arrival. The way you approach a small animal you want to observe, moving slowly without sudden movements, making yourself as little threatening as possible. He reads the passage a second time, slowly. Then he sets the book down, closes his eyes, holds what he has read in the dark behind his closed eyes, not examining it, not turning it over, just holding it the way you hold something fragile. The lamp burns. The city is silent. Something is happening in him that he has no words for yet. He will have words for it later, many words. He will spend the next 30 years finding more precise words for this and related things, will write those words in books that will be read for another 1,000 years. But tonight, he has no words. Tonight, he simply has the thing. He does not know, sitting at his reading table at this hour, what his life will contain. He does not know about the years of court service, the years of flight, the years of imprisonment that will come when political fortune turns against the people who protected him. He does not know about the great books, the canon of medicine, which will become the standard medical text in the Islamic world and in Europe for 500 years, taught in universities that do not yet exist, read by physicians who have not yet been born. He does not know about the Book of Healing, which is not about physical healing, but about the soul, about logic and mathematics and music and philosophy, an attempt to write down everything that can be written down in a form that will survive the writer. He does not know any of this. He knows that he has questions he wants to answer. He knows that the questions are bigger than any one book and probably bigger than any one life, but that books are what he has and a life is what he has. And so the books will be written in the life and the life will be spent writing the books. He knows that the difficult passage is becoming less difficult. Not solved, never fully solved, he will say. In the books he will write that certain questions admit of approach but not of arrival. And this is not a failure of the questions or of the person asking them, but a feature of the questions, a sign that they are the right questions, the ones that live at the edge of what the human mind can reach. He knows that the lamp beside him has perhaps 2 hours of oil left. He knows that when it goes out, he will sleep, and when he wakes, he will continue, and that the continuing is the thing, not the arriving. He knows he is 20 years old in a room in Bukhara in the winter of the year 1000, with 40 books around him and a passage from Aristotle that is giving up its secrets slowly. The way all difficult things give up their secrets slowly to patient attention in the quiet. There is a quality to this particular night that he will remember, not because of what he has understood. He is not yet certain what he has understood, and certainty about understanding takes time to establish, requires the test of putting the understanding to work and seeing if it holds, not because anything dramatic has happened. Nothing dramatic has happened. He has read. He has thought. He has sat in a room in the quiet with books that have been his company for years. The quality he will remember is harder to name. A sense of the night as permissive, as allowing something to happen that could not happen in the daylight, in the noise, in the social world of the day, where he is always someone being observed, being evaluated, being called upon to produce the kind of understanding that can be demonstrated to others. At night alone, there is no audience. The understanding he reaches at this table, in this hour, is for no one but him. It will not be tested until he chooses to test it. It will not be evaluated until he chooses to put it before someone who can evaluate it. It exists right now, only in him, the way the warmth of the brazier exists only in this room. He has thought about whether this makes nighttime understanding less real than daylight understanding. He has decided no. The understanding is the understanding, where it happens and when it happens, and who is watching when it happens. These are circumstances of the understanding, not the understanding itself. The river does not flow differently because no one is watching. He has the understanding. It is incomplete. It will remain incomplete because completeness in these matters is not available, and pretending to completeness is the most dangerous thing a thinker can do. But it is real. He holds it in the dark of his closed eyes. Then he opens his eyes, picks up the Al-Farabi, and reads on. The first call to prayer will come before dawn. He will hear it in his room, through the walls, through the winter air, the muezzin's voice carrying across the sleeping city the announcement that the time of prayer has arrived, that the night is ending, that the world is being called back to itself from whatever private places the dark has taken it. He is not there yet. He has, he estimates, perhaps 90 minutes before the call. The lamp has enough oil. Just, he will finish the Al-Farabi tonight, or come close enough to finishing that the remaining pages can be read tomorrow. He is not in a hurry. This is the thing he has learned in these years of reading that has surprised him most, because it runs counter to his own nature, which is characterized by a speed that occasionally frightens people. The speed of his comprehension, the speed of his response in conversation, the speed with which he moves from question to answer in the medical consultations he conducts. He is fast. He has always been fast. But the things that matter most have not yielded to speed. The difficult passage did not open faster because he wanted it to open faster. The understanding he has tonight, incomplete, provisional, oriented correctly but not yet arrived, came in its own time. At the 41st reading, after 2 years. It did not come because he hurried it. He has learned to trust the pace of the thing, not to stop pushing. The pushing is necessary. The discipline of returning to the difficult text, the refusal to accept incomprehension as a permanent condition, but to hold the pushing lightly, to bring the full force of his attention, and then to let the thing respond at whatever speed it responds at. The lamp flickers once, a small thing, a bubble in the oil perhaps, or a thread of the wick catching differently for a moment. He watches it settle back to its even burning. He breathes in the cold Bukharan air. He breathes out. He reads the last pages of Al-Farabi's commentary with the careful, unhurried attention of someone who knows there is enough night left, and enough lamp left, and enough mind left for what remains. Let the room in Bukhara settle into its winter quiet. Let the lamp burn its last hour, the oil diminishing steadily, the light holding for as long as it holds. Let the 40 books stand in their towers in the corners and on the shelf, and in the stacks on the floor, patient, available, holding what they hold. Let the young man read. You have been in that room tonight, in the cold and the lamplight, and the smell of sesame oil and old paper, and charcoal warmth, with the books around you and the steppe wind somewhere outside, and the city sleeping, and one mind awake at the reading table, following a thread into the dark. You carry something from it. Not the philosophy, not the argument, not the conclusion, not the answer to the difficult passage. Something simpler, the quality of the attention, the willingness to sit with something difficult without demanding that it resolve, to return to it, to trust that the 41st time is different from the 40th, even when you cannot say how, to let the night be long and the lamp be sufficient, and the question be as large as it is. Let your own mind right now release whatever it has been holding. Let it be in this moment, without the pressure of the next moment, or the weight of the last. The difficult passage does not need to be solved tonight. Nothing needs to be solved tonight. The lamp is burning. The night is long. You are here, and it is enough, and you can rest now. Let the questions be where they are. Let the answers come in their own time. Let your breath slow to the pace of the lamp's steady burning, and sleep. End of story.